Hello everybody, welcome back. It's a separate kingdom. ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ರಾಜ್ಯ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ. So taking an example of one animal, we have just classified using the 7 taxonomical units. So all the information is given about the plants that are grown in that particular area. So it is an area which is preserved and conserved. Definitely like we are in Mysore and definitely we enjoy going to a Mysore. So museum is nothing but a collection of what? Preserved plant and animal specimens. Hello everybody, welcome back again to session 6 of this very important chapter called The Living World. Myself, B. Shobarani from the Department of Biology, Vidyashram Pre-University College, the Temple of Excellence. Hope you remember what I taught you all in the last session, that is session 5 of this very interesting chapter called The Living World. We studied about the 7 taxonomical units, right? We studied about the species, then we studied about the genus, then about the family, then about the order, then the class, right, then the phylum, and also we added a note on kingdom. So in today's session we'll be studying about the last unit of classification, that is kingdom, and also about the taxonomical aids, right? Now moving on to the kingdom. So we in the previous session we studied what is kingdom. A group of related phyla make a kingdom. So as I said, all plants belong to kingdom Plantae, all animals belong to kingdom Animaliae. Animals, you cannot group animals into kingdom Plantae, nor you can group plants into kingdom Animaliae. It's a separate kingdom. ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ರಾಜ್ಯ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, ರೈಟ್? ಸೊ ಕಿಂಗ್ಡಮ್, ರೈಟ್? ಸೊ ವಾಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಕಿಂಗ್ಡಮ್? ಕಿಂಗ್ಡಮ್ ಇಸ್ ನಥಿಂಗ್ ಬಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಅ ಗ್ರೂಪ್ ಆಫ್ ಕ್ಲೋಸ್ಲಿ ರಿಲೇಟೆಡ್ ಫೈಲಮ್, or in case of plants it is a group of closely related division. In the last session we studied that kingdom Plantae includes what? All plants. Kingdom Animaliae includes all animals. All animals, here all plants, right? So as I said, we should not use the word called plant. We are not talking about 1 or 2 plants, right? So kingdom means it includes many millions of plants, we can say. So we use the word called Plantae. In a similar way for animal, we should not write it as kingdom animal, kingdom Animalia, right? So what is kingdom? Kingdom is considered as what? The highest rank in the classification. Which is the lowest rank in the classification? Species. As we said, species is a basic unit of classification, right? So the kingdom Animalia comprises of what? Several phyla, that includes what? All animals, and the kingdom Plantae comprising of what? Several divisions. So as I said, kingdom Plantae includes several divisions, and kingdom Animalia includes several phylum. So invertebrate phyla, like for example, starts from Porifera, Coelenterata, Arthropoda, Platyhelminths, Aschelminths, all that anyhow you are going to study in a very interesting chapter called Animal Kingdom, right? So kingdom Plantae also you are going to study, and also you are going to study about all animals, that is kingdom Animal Kingdom and Plant Kingdom, right? Now as I said, kingdom is the highest rank in the classification. The kingdom Animalia comprises of what? Several phyla, that includes all animals, and the kingdom Plantae comprises of what? Several divisions, that include all plants. You can see the beautiful pictures here, right? So we classify the animals based on the presence or absence of backbone. So butterfly obviously is without backbone. So all these are the animals with backbone. Again we differentiate them into cold-blooded and warm-blooded. What do you mean by cold-blooded? Is also called poikilotherms, and warm-blooded are also called as homeotherms. What do you mean by cold-blooded animals? In cold-blooded animals, the body temperature is not constant. It keeps on changing according to the external environmental conditions. But we human beings are homeotherms. It starts from birds. So warm-blooded animal. What do you mean by warm-blooded animals? Our body temperature does not change according to the external environmental conditions. If outside if it is cold, our body will not become cold. If outside it is hot, our body will not become hot. So our body temperature is constant. It does not change according to the environmental conditions. So you group the animals into cold-blooded and warm-blooded. Cold-blooded animals are also called as what? Poikilotherms, as I said. Poikilotherms means what? The animals whose body temperature changes according to the environmental conditions. Like for example, like the fishes, the frogs, then the reptiles. From here we call them as warm-blooded animals, where the body temperature is constant. It does not change according to the environmental conditions. So you have understood the last 7th taxonomical unit, that is kingdom, is what? Kingdom is the last taxonomical unit in the linear hierarchy, as we already studied in the last session. 7 taxonomical units: species, genus, then what? Next is family, 4th is order, 5th is class, 6th is phylum, or we call it as division, and 7th is what? Kingdom. Right? So hope you have understood what is kingdom, right? Kingdom is the last unit of linear hierarchy, or it is the last taxonomical units, which you can also call it as what? The highest rank in the classification. As I said, the kingdom Animalia includes what? Closely related phyla. Kingdom Plantae includes what? Closely related division. Already we have explained about what is this cold-blooded animals, animals with backbone, animals without backbone, how do we group them, all that. As I said, this chapter itself is a quite interesting chapter, and this session is the last session of this chapter called the living world. Hope you'll enjoy all the concepts what I have taught you all in this session, right? Moving on to the organism with their taxonomy category. Already I explained about the 7 taxonomical units. Whenever we take, so this will be the first, second, third, 4, 5, 6 and 7. As you know, we are all called eukaryotes. Prokaryotes, like the bacteria, they are all called prokaryotes, right? So we belong to a domain called eukaryotes, right? Then kingdom Animalia, as I said, this is the highest rank. Let us take an example. How do we classify the animals? Now let us take an example of Panthera pardus, that is cheetah, right? So species is what? Pardus. Then, and genus is what? Genus is Panthera. Then family, Felidae, Carnivora. So here we use the word called Panthera pardus, but the species name is what? Pardus. Here it is Panthera. Family, Felidae. Carnivora. I told you why they are called as carnivores, because they are flesh eaters. Carnivora. Then Mammalia. They belong to which class? Class Mammalia. Then they belong to which phylum? Chordata. They belong to which animal kingdom? Called Animalia. So as I said, so group of similar species make a genus, group of similar genus make a family, group of similar family make an order, group of similar order make a class, group of similar class make a phylum, and group of similar phylum make a kingdom. So this is an example of Panthera pardus, right? But the species is what? Pardus. And what is the genus name? Genus name is Panthera. It belongs to which family? Called Felidae. Carnivora. Which order? Carnivora. Class Mammalia. Phylum Chordata. Kingdom Animalia. And which this cheetah, that is Panthera pardus, belong to which domain? Eukaryota. So this is how we are going to write. Hope you remember the previous session where we classified 4 examples, that is about housefly, man, wheat and mango. So in a similar way, this is how we are going to classify, right? So taking an example of one animal, we have just classified using the 7 taxonomical units. Moving on to the taxonomical aids. These taxonomical aids are also called as utilities. As I said, there are millions of plants and animals existing on this planet Earth. Is it possible for us to study all the animals and plants together? Together, it is very difficult. For that, what was the only means? It was through classification. And also, we need to use some means of study. Some means of study for the classification. What do you call those means of study for classification? We use the word called taxonomic aids, right? For example, like we make use of a chart. I think, for example, if you want to teach a small child about what is elephant, we take a picture of a elephant, or we take a child to the zoo to show a elephant. So those are all called as what? Means of study. So when you go through all such taxonomical aids, the study will be quite easy also, right? So what do you mean by taxonomical aids? As I said, biologists have established several techniques to store and preserve the information about the organisms, which would be useful for what? Useful for identification and classification of living organisms. So the study of these plants and animals will be quite easy by making use of all these taxonomic aids. For example, like we take an example of zoological garden. Like we have come across in Mysore Zoo, many animals are kept. So when you just go through the small children, or even the elders, when they go to the zoo and observe those animals, they'll get to know what is the habit of these animals, how do they look. So many children would not have seen a tiger, right? So when they go to a zoo and see the tiger, then they'll get an first-hand information like what a tiger is. And usually when we see when we say about an elephant, we say it's a very big animal, it has a long trunk, right? So but when you take a child to a zoo and show a real elephant, I think that the enjoyment what a child gets after seeing a live elephant is something different than seeing a picture in a book. So all those you call it as what? Taxonomical aids. So the means which will help for the study, which will also help us to know about their habits, their food habits, their living conditions, all that first-hand information we are going to get by using this taxonomical aids. So as I said, biologists have established what? Several procedures and techniques to store and preserve the information about the organisms, which would be useful in the identification and classification of living organisms. So what are the examples for taxonomical aids? One example is herbarium, second one is botanical garden, and third one is zoological garden, then museum, then key. All these are some of the examples for taxonomical aids. Hope you can see here: monograph, herbarium, museum, zoological park, keys, flora, manual, botanical garden. All these are called as what? Taxonomical aids, which is going to help the study of the plants and animals in a very systematic manner. So we get first-hand information about the various plants and animals which are preserved, and the techniques are applied to preserve, or sometimes, as I said, this whole biodiversity consists of living organisms. They need to be preserved and conserved. So what are the means of conservation? Like for example, you come across in situ conservation and ex situ conservation, where for example, like the animals, for example, you have come across the national parks where the animals are not held in captivity, they are left in the natural condition and the natural habitat is maintained for those animals. But in case of a zoological garden or a zoo, the animals are held in captivity and the area is not so big as like you come across a biosphere reserve or a national park, but the conditions are maintained there and the animals are preserved and conserved there. So nobody is allowed to hunt or kill the animals either in a zoo or in a national park. So as it is our bound duty to conserve and preserve all these precious living organisms on this biosphere. If not, there will be an ecological imbalance, right? Now let us study one by one what are the taxonomical aids. Moving on to the first taxonomical aid called herbarium. So like even we can do at home also. Suppose you come across some rare species of plants, collect it, bring it, press it, keep it in between two sheets, keep something, a heavy object over it so that it can be pressed. So what do you call that technique of preserving the rare plants is nothing but called herbarium. So what is herbarium? It is a storehouse of collected plant specimens. It is only plant specimens, not animal specimens, right? So it is a storehouse of collected plant specimens that are dried, pressed and preserved on sheets. So how do we define a herbarium? Suppose this is a very important question which is asked in the exam. What are taxonomical aid? Give an example of a taxonomical aid. Or what is herbarium? So what is a herbarium? It is a storehouse of collected plant specimens that are dried, pressed and preserved on sheets, right? So and what is this herbarium sheets carrying? So it will carry the information about the plant, where it was collected. For example, you just go for a trip and you come across some rare plant. So you would have collected the plant from that particular area. So which is the area you have collected the plant, and the date of collection of that particular plant, and what is the scientific name of that plant. If possible, you have to identify write the scientific name of that plant or even the common name of that plant in that herbarium sheet. So all this information will give us an idea as to what is that rare plant all about. So where was it collected, what is the scientific name, all that information is written just below the herbarium sheet. So the herbarium sheets also carry what? A label providing what? Information about date and place of collection, botanical name, family, etc., etc. Like if you happen to go to a zoo, there also you might have come across like a botanical garden. Many rare plants would have been grown there. So the scientific name, the date of collection, all that, everything would have been written there. So what is that information giving to a individual who visits a zoo or who visits a botanical garden? It gives an idea or the information about that particular plant. So this is how we are able to study about the plants and animals. So all these are what? Means of study. As I said in the beginning, these are all the means of study. Herbarium also is a means of study. Here you can see how the leaf is pressed and dried and pressed. So you can see the color change also. Here it is green color. So when in the beginning when you collect it, it will be green color. So after when you press it and dry it, it will become like this. So all these are something. So you can preserve it for many days. So you can also keep them in the sheets because the sheets should not get damaged. So you can keep them in shelves also, right? So this is one means of a study. And herbarium is what? It is a storehouse of collected plant specimens that are dried, pressed and preserved on sheets. So now what does herbarium also carry? They carry a label. What is that label all about? It is about the information of the plant that is collected. What is the name of that plant? Date of collection. All that information is given there, so that when you go and when you just have a look at the herbarium, you yourself will get an information that what is that plant all about. So that is one means of study, or it is herbarium is a very, very important taxonomical aid. Moving on to the next, botanical garden. Who does not like to go to a botanical garden? Like for example, all of you might have visited Ooty Botanical Garden, right? So what are these gardens? These are the gardens having collection of plant species which are grown for identification and classification purposes. So that is one particular area or a garden where you will get all the varieties of plants preserved and conserved. Nobody is allowed to touch the plants also. Right, so that is one means of study, and you might have come across many trees planted there, many rare plants there, and even the plants will carry some information, like a label would have been put just below the plant which gives an information about the plant, the scientific name. There are many types of plant. Many of us would not know even the scientific names or even the common names, right? As I said, common names are used for our convenience, but the scientific names are universal. So you will come across many a famous botanical garden, like we'll give some examples. That is the Royal Botanical Garden, that is Kew, Southwest London. Then Indian Botanical Garden called Howrah, that is in Howrah, that is Kolkata. The National Botanical Research Institute, that is in Lucknow. So these are some of the examples for the very famous botanical garden, and definitely a person or an individual is going to enjoy in a botanical garden where the whole environment is kept naturally and all the plants are grown in the natural habitat, and all the information is given about the plants that are grown in that particular area. So it is an area which is preserved and conserved. So nobody is allowed to destroy the plants or harm the plants, and all the information about the rare plants and animals are kept in that particular information. So botanical garden is one of the very important taxonomical aid for study purpose and even for the classification. So you'll get to know about what are the plants, right? So this is one very important taxonomical aid. Moving on to the next very important, that is called zoological garden. Commonly we use the word called zoo. Definitely, like we are in Mysore, and definitely we enjoy going to a Mysore Zoo. Jayachamrajendra Zoological Garden it is called, right? Who doesn't like to visit a zoo, right? Because zoo is such a place where you come across many animals which we usually see in pictures or posters, right? So we can see the live animals, and we also will be very happy to see them, watch them moving around. Like if you happen to see a tiger, never we dare to go in front of a tiger, right? But at least from far away we are able to see a tiger, and even an elephant, right? Such a big animal, and you can see how it uses its trunk, how its ears will be just flashing. So all that things you can just have a look at it in a zoological garden. And particularly the small children will enjoy going to a zoo, right? So what is a zoo then? This is also one means of study. Like if you happen to go to a zoo, all the animals are kept, and this is called as ex situ conservation. Ex situ conservation. Botanical garden also is an ex situ conservation. What do you mean by ex situ conservation? They are the animals and plants. The animals and plants are conserved and preserved in an artificial habitat. Artificial habitat. What do you mean by habitat? Place of living, place of dwelling, right? Here artificial habitat is created so that the plants and animals are conserved and preserved. As I said, we need to conserve and preserve these plants and animals. If not, a day may come wherein we need to see all these plants and animals only in pictures or posters. Hope the day will not come, right? It is a bound duty. Many animals are becoming endangered species. Many are becoming vulnerable, and many are becoming, I think we have come across many animals becoming extinct, right? So in order to avoid all this, and as I said, we need to maintain the ecological balance. Plants are important, and at the same time even animals are also equally important to maintain ecological balance in this planet Earth, right? So ex situ conservation means what? Preserving and conserving the animals in an artificial habitat. So it is not a natural habitat. So zoological garden is also a very important taxonomical aid. And we are all blessed to be in Mysore to have a zoological garden, and we can visit also the zoological garden. But now due to this coronavirus, I think it is banned now. But many people enjoy coming to Mysore. As you know, Mysore is a city of heritage city with lot of beautiful places, and also a zoological garden to see. And as I said, this is a place where the animals are conserved and preserved in captivity, but not in natural condition, but an artificial condition is created, or an artificial habitat is created. So these are the places where wild animals are kept in protected environments under human care, and which enable us to learn about them. And even many plants also you come across in zoological garden, where the names of the plants, what is a scientific name, what is a common name, when it was collected, all the details would have been given in that particular information, which is also very, very important for us to know about that particular plant, right? Hope you have understood what is zoological garden. Moving on to the museum. Museum is a place where not live plants and animals are kept. It is what? Preserved plant and animal specimens are kept for study. So museum is nothing but a collection of what? Preserved plant and animal specimens for the study and reference. Definitely even this museum also is going to be a very, very good taxonomical aid. Hope you might have visited many museums, right, where you can see a rare plants and animals kept and preserved. So even preservation also is done there, so that the material will not get destroyed, right? So when you watch at those rare plants and animals, definitely you are going to get a first hand information. And not only that, each specimen would have been given the information about that particular specimen, where it was collected, what is the scientific name. As I said, for every specimen, the details of that particular specimen is given, so that whoever visits a museum and watches those plant specimens or the animal specimens will get an information about that particular specimen, where it was collected, what is the scientific name, what is the common name, how long it what is the lifespan of that particular plant, what is the lifespan of that particular animal. So all that details you get it when you visit a zoo. So that is when you visit a museum. So what is a museum? Museum is what? Collection of preserved plant and animal specimens for study and reference. And I think definitely care is taken to see that people will not damage the plant specimens and the animal specimens, because they are all very rare and they are preserved and conserved, they are protected. So it's a bound duty to take care to see that we will not harm any of those plant specimens or the animal specimen, because this is how it is going on for years and years. So like that now, when we were small, we used to visit the museum and we used to watch. Now the younger generation will go, their younger generation will go and watch so it will be there forever. So this will be like a continuous study, right? So it's a bound duty to protect and preserve and these museums. Moving on to the last one, that is called the key. What is a key? Key is again a taxonomical use. It is an aid which is used to identification of unknown plants and animals. So like you have come across some unknown plant and animal, you want to identify it. So how are you going to identify it? You are going to identify it based on the similarities and dissimilarities. So key is again a very, very important taxonomical aid which is used for the identification of plants and animals, particularly the unidentified plants and animals, based on the similarities and dissimilarities. Like the common key what we use is called the dichotomous key for leaves. Here you can see. So we come across the similarities and dissimilarities. Needle-like leaves, non-needle-like leaves. Needles are, that is the, like for example, you might have come across the pine. Here you can see the leaves are needle-like. Here also you can see needle-like. So you try to compare A with C, with B with D. So like this you are going to compare. So needles are clustered. Here needles are singlets. Then simple leaves, compound leaves. Then smooth edge, jagged edge. Like for example, you come across leaves like this, some like this. So based on, as I said, key is what? It is used based on the similarities and dissimilarities. Leaf edge is smooth, leaf edge is lobed. Then leaf edge is small and tooth-like, leaf edge is large and thorny. So leaflets attached to one single point, leaflets attached to multiple points. So all these are the things which is taken to consider, to identify an unknown plant and an animal with the help of a key. So key is also a very, very important taxonomical aid for classification. So it is also a very, very important aid for taxonomical classification. So in other words, we can see all the taxonomical aids are one means of study for us. So we use all these taxonomical aids to study the classification of plants and animals, and not only that, all these taxonomical aids will help us to understand about the plants and animals. Hope you have understood this very interesting chapter of your first unit 1 called Diversity of the Living World. That is about the very important chapter called the Living World. So I have tried my best to make you understand all the concepts of this very important chapter called the Living World. As I said, this living chapter itself contains so many concepts which are of very, very important. So as I said, the knowledge of biology is not just restricted to a textbook or to a book, but as I said, the whole the knowledge of biology is around around us and within us. Hope you have understood all the concepts what I have explained in this very important chapter called the living world. This is your first very interesting chapter of your syllabus. So in the coming session, I'll be coming back with a very new chapter and quite interesting chapter. Till then, goodbye and thank you.